Mr. Morris, it's been claimed that 64% of Australia's pollution comes from transport and a lot of this from motor vehicles. What can be done about it?
Well, I was surprised, in fact, when after the research was undertaken, I was told that almost 2/3 of atmospheric pollution came from motor vehicle. Now, it's because of these figures that have been presented to us that the various ministers for transport right throughout Australia at their meeting last week decided that something had to be done as quickly as possible. And we have indicated that as from the 1st of January 1973, it will be incumbent upon motor car manufacturers to have a device fitted which will reduce the atmospheric pollution from a motor vehicle by half. Now, this is only the start. This isn't by any means the be-all and end-all. I hope by 75 or 76 that it might be down to a quarter.
Will this be a standard device? Who's going to build the device?
Well, it will be built into the car, and the manufacturers themselves have offered to tender some advice on this matter, and it was for this reason that rather than specify what sort of device ought to be attached to the car, provided it achieves the results, that is, in measurement of pollution, we decided to talk to the manufacturers about what the device should be, but we've indicated that the date, as far as we're concerned, is the 1st of January 1973. Now, this gives more than adequate time, we believe, for tooling up, for planning and for preparation.
The question of fuels themselves, too, comes into this. Some oil companies claim to have fuels which produce less pollution. Will there be any standard on this?
We had a report on this, and we decided not to make a decision on fuel until our next meeting. The reason being that there is an indication that to take additives out of the petrol could in fact increase the price of petrol by 3 or 4 or 5 cents a gallon. Now, no governments take action that's going to increase the price of petrol substantially without looking very, very closely at possible alternatives.
What sort of effect of pollution reduction does altering the fuel have? Is it as good as the device?
It isn't as good as the device.
What sort of enforcement will you have to keep them on? I'm told in the United States people are tending to take these devices off because they tend to reduce the performance of the car.
They do reduce performance. I think we have to do all we can with the manufacturers to ensure that the device cannot be taken off. Penalties, I suppose, will have to be provided where a car is operating without the specified device. This is inevitable. The performance that suffers is very slight, and I think when measured against the saving in pollution, well, there's no real comparison at all.
The Transport Ministers met in Port Moresby. Why?
Well, the meetings rotate. Last meeting was in Sydney. It was New South Wales' turn. I had the right to specify that it be held at Narrabri or Maitland or Wagga Wagga. The Commonwealth government had its turn this time. It specified Port Moresby. Port Moresby, of course, is much closer than Perth or Adelaide as far as I was concerned.
I was thinking rather more in terms of the number of cars. There must be fewer cars.
Yes. Well, as I say, it was the Commonwealth government's turn, and the Minister for External Territories hoped to have it in his territory.
What else came out of this meeting that's going to affect car owners?
There was it wasn't just a meeting concerning cars. It was a meeting concerning all forms of transport. We decided to undertake a major study on transportation costs. That is, carrying of goods by road or rail, to determine whether there ought to be some rationalisation, whether we're unnecessarily duplicating and thereby increasing costs. This is a major study, and one that I believe will bring beneficial results to the people engaged in the carriage of goods, whether they be rail or road. a number of other safety devices were approved for inclusion on motor cars. This has, of course, a road safety theme, and it was quite a formidable agenda, and I believe worthwhile decisions are taken at these meetings.
Don't be fooled by this rather exotic Korean dress worn by our guest of this evening. She's Australian, an Australian nurse who's been in Korea, South Korea, for the past 7 years, Miss Esme Smith. Tell me, Miss Smith, is this a normal Korean dress? It would seem rather fancy for everyday wear.
Yes, this dress is a normal Korean dress. It is worn every day by the Korean women, and although often the patterns of material are not as exotic as you would think, they are much duller in colour, the basic pattern is the same. They wear the same dress in their home, they wear the same dress in more exotic materials when they leave their home to go visiting or go to the department store shopping.
And what about nursing? You wouldn't wear something like that on the job as a nurse?
No, definitely not. Nursing, we revert to our nursing uniform.
Well, what took you to Korea in the first place?
Well, I went to Korea to help my church in its mission program in Korea, but I wasn't actually to help in the church work itself, but to help establish a medical clinic.
You were a nurse then before you left Australia?
Yes, I was a nurse. I had trained in Sydney and had my 2 certificates, and I had done several years' experience in a hospital in Sydney before leaving Australia to go to South Korea.
Well, 7.5 years ago.
That's right.
South Korea must have been a pretty miserable place.
South Korea in those days was a very, very miserable place. In fact, if I had had a return aeroplane ticket, I would have come straight home again.
As bad as that?
It was.
And yet,
Definitely.
now you intend to go back there?
Yes, I return again next week, and I will be there for probably another 3 years at least.
The conditions in Korea have picked up a bit, have they?
Very much so, yes. The city life in Korea is such a city life anywhere in the world, and you may have all the entertainment that you wish, find it there, and it is almost any time of the year you can find any kind of entertainment that you want.
How long did it take you to learn the language?
I studied as a private student for 2.5 years. I was working in a university hospital in the nursing school there, and because my hours at the hospital were so long, I didn't have time during the day to attend a university course. So I had a tutor come to my home, and I studied at home.
In those days you were in Seoul itself?
I was in Seoul itself, the capital city, yes.
And you're there no longer?
I'm not there anymore, no. I have moved out into the rural areas of the country, the poorer area of the country now, because this is the area that needs the most attention and needs the benefits of medical health as we know it and medical facilities as we know it.
They have a long way to catch up, have they?
In the cities, no, but in the country, yes. Most of the country rural villages depend on Oriental medicine or Chinese medicine for any cure for any disease that they might have. Because of their poor economic conditions in the rural areas, the people cannot afford to go to the cities to get the modern medicine.
Brings us to the obvious question, do these poorer people in the rural areas, are they sort of politically aware enough to know which side they're supposed to be on in the Korean struggle?
Not really, no.
Do you think they care?
I think they like the benefits of capitalism. I think they see some need to be friendly with the United States, because the United States has given a lot of aid in this country, and they have seen the development which has taken place in their cities, but as yet it hasn't touched the rural areas of the country. And so if the city people can gain this much enjoyment from the benefits which can be derived from a democratic government, they hope that very, very soon that they too can participate in the benefits.
They feel it's a pretty stable country these days, do they?
I think it will be stable in trying to attempt to bring a democratic form of government into being, because the president of the country holds a very firm hold on the government, and he does desperately try to assist every segment of the community.
Including the rural people?
Including the rural people.
Or are they still living in sort of mortal fear of the north and the border only a few miles away?
Those people who live near enough to the north do live, But then many of them are so isolated that I think the North Koreans would pass them by before they knew they had gone through. Communications are so poor in these areas that they wouldn't know that the North Koreans had passed them by. Of course, in the times when we have had some infiltration from the north, the people have not been aware of the infiltration passing their place, and it has only been when the infiltrators have reached the capital city or a larger community and they have caused some damage that the people have been aware of the fact that...
This still goes on?
This still goes on, yes. It's
Mm.
only 3 years ago that the last largest infiltration was attempted.
Well, you're going back next week. I hope that your next sojourn in Korea is even more pleasant than the last one has been.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for being our guest, Miss Esme Smith.
Thank you.
The agents of the Central Coast, the members of the Real Estate Institute branch here, have been quite concerned that in the last few months the figures of growth projected for this area have stunned people, but they haven't accepted the fact and started planning for the growth that's to come. We felt that if we could get the civic leaders, the shire councillors who are making our immediate decisions, together with the other local leaders of business and the community life generally, that we could plan together as a team for the forthcoming growth. And we feel that today is the start of such coordination and cooperation of all the leaders in these fields.
The purpose of the inspections and discussions that we've been holding in Adelaide and today at the State Dockyard, Newcastle, is to examine the structure of the Australian shipbuilding industry, both the present and the immediate future. Two matters, one from the present setup of the shipbuilding yards themselves and the output of ships, and from the industrial side as to the problems confronting the industry by demarcation strikes.
Well, is there any possibility then that, quite apart from asking the government for more money for this, that and the next thing, the unions may also be asked to merge into a single industry union?
The unions have said that they are aware of the problems in the industry, and from our side we are looking at this very closely in the shipbuilding industry, and we will in the near future be meeting as a body to put forward a recommendation. What that recommendation is going to be at this moment I can't say, because we haven't completed our investigation.
Now, one quick one, would you care to crystal ball on how long this will take?
We are hoping to get it through as quickly as possible, but it could be before the end of the year. We're hoping to complete it before the end of the year.
Thank you.
The idea of Autonomy Day was to raise money for a charity, and we earned close on $1,000. We're not sure of the exact amount yet, but it would be in the vicinity of $1,000.
What about all the flower throwing? Do you think it was necessary or advisable?
I don't think necessary and advisable are the words one would choose to pick in this case. I'd say more part of the procession. It was the students enjoying themselves, and while they were enjoying themselves, or what people saw of the students enjoying themselves, there were other students walking along beside the procession on the footpath selling opus, which was the idea of the procession, and that raised about a quarter of the total amount of money.
You don't look on the accusations too seriously?
No.
The flower throwing or anything else for that matter?
No, because there was no harm done with the flower throwing. The only damage was done to students who got flour all over their clothes. So it was pretty well confined to the students, except for the unfortunate lady who got hit by a pear. And we have sent her a letter of apology and have said we will pay for any dry cleaning costs that are incurred from this incident.